Namaste and greetings. I'm happy to give you the introduction you requested for the kind of material I'll offer to university dance students on Indian classical dance, especially Odissi. In India, there are 8 classical dance traditions. In the West, there is ballet, and of course, all of the variations within ballet and performance art that evolved out of it. In India today, besides all the folk and traditional genres, we have 8 recognized classical dance forms, each one having within it the range that you would have in ballet from, say, Chickadee to Bolshoi. Odissi dance comes from the eastern part of India, from the state of Odisha, and this form is recognized visually by the Tribhangi pose, the triple bend. So here you have 3 bends of the body with an S curve, and there are many movements that are done in this asymmetrical pose. We start with some basic principles. In the Tribhangi position, which they learn to get into as, first of all, turn out from the hip, bringing the right foot directly into the arch, moving it out, plie, shift the weight completely into the hip so that there's no weight on the gesturing foot, mushti, a fist at the waist, shikara, which means a man, but here it's just ornamental. This goes on the thigh. And the students will do 1 to 10 different steps in 3 speeds so that they will be able to control the footwork, add on the ribs, add on the counterpoint of the neck movement. Here, the neck and the head move equally, and along with that, the eyes. And so, first step is 1 beat in 4 counts, and then they learn to double it, and then they learn 3 in 3. So working in 3 speeds, they get mastery over the rhythm while they're learning to control the technique. So similarly, step 2, 2 sounds in 4, 1, 2, 1, 2. Third step, in Tribhang, triple bend, 3 step counts. So there's a heel, place, and then down. Now you notice that in all of these steps, one stays bent, one stays close to the earth with a solid base of support. This is very much of a tradition throughout Asia, and you find it in most of the Indian classical traditional forms. Now in Chok, the same way. You have steps 1 to 10, so that you'll have, for instance, 3, again, whereas in Tribhang 3 is heel, place, and into Tribhang. When you do in Chok, you'll be doing 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And so it's similar in doubling. Step 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Also, the ribs move after the footwork. So, you have the clarity of the stem, which is shared in Bharatanatyam from the south, Kuchipudi, and of course Kathak. But when the foot is stamped, the body movement will follow. So this creates a softness. In a way, it makes Odissi, for those familiar with Western dance, it makes it kind of the Humphrey Lamone style compared to Bharatanatyam, which is more of Cunningham. In Indian classical dance, one of the special features is that besides all of the movement of the body, the control of hands, eyes, head, neck, torso, bodies, there's the aspect of interpreting text. So acting is part of the dancer's role. When we begin an Indian dance class or performance, we always do an obeisance to the earth. This touching of the earth before we begin is a formal, visual, kinetic showing of respect to the earth on which we perform. Hand gestures. Hasta abhinaya, the meaning of hands, depends on their usage. So a gesture, a single hand position, pataka, which means the flag. The name of it is flag, pataka, but it only means a flag if it's over the head. One doesn't need to know Sanskrit to know that this means me, or that this is a mirror, or the wind, or the water, or opening a window or a door, putting on oil. So all of these are used with this single hand gesture. And depending on the classical tradition, there are 26, 27, or 28 gestures with one hand, and a similar number with two. So you can't say namaste without putting two hands together. It's said in the Abhinaya Darpana, which is one of the ancient texts referred to by Indian dancers, that where the hand goes, the eye goes. Where the eye goes, the mind goes. Where the mind goes, the emotion goes. And where the emotion goes, there you have the rasa, which is the fruit, the essence, the juice. And this is actually the most important part of the art. So this is movement with music, but with a slight text. And after that comes the greeting to the audience. Again, hands, Anjali, the greeting in all directions. And with footwork, ending with the Tribhangi pranam. Dance has both aspects that are simply beautiful movement or with one theme, and also there are dances that are interpreting a text. Now this interpretation is not a Mickey Mouse interpretation. It's not simply a pantomime of the meaning. It's taking an aspect, a line, and often literally presenting it only once, and then variations on interpretation, and then creating stories or sancharis out of this. And this is something that hopefully the students will be able to experience as well as see during the workshop. So, learning a different energy, a different way of connecting with the body, learning how to have different parts of the body moving at the same time, so that instead of always an arm being one connection, but how to have different movements happening with different parts of the body at the same time. Kind of a tap your head above your tummy. So a space hold with the wrist moving and not the hand rather than flapping. So there will be different body skills, movement skills, a different use of timing, because rather than in modern dance a dancer's timing where something will be elongated through space, here it will be very connected to the rhythm, the specific rhythm of the feet. The classical tradition of dance in Odissi dance, goes back over 2,000 years, because there are relief sculptures on the walls of some caves that show dancers. And we also have texts describing the codification of dance technique. We also, of course, have many, many sculptures on the temples in Orissa, which give us a very solid visual representation of the art. And yet the dance as we perform it today is not the same as what's found on the temples, because as a living art tradition, it has evolved and changed and is still growing. Today's Odissi comes from a combination of the tradition of boy dancers, young boys dressed as girls, who as part of a medieval movement of devotion brought the dance out of the temples into the streets and added a great deal of technique, movement, and acrobatics. Whereas inside the temple, there's a tradition going back to the 8th century where dancers, women, were devoted to offering service, offering dance in the temples, offering singing, offering dance. And especially in one temple, Jagannath Puri in Orissa, was a tradition where the Maharis, or temple dancers, would perform from the Gita Govinda, a medieval song describing the love of Radha and Krishna, the soul yearning union with the divine in the form of Krishna. And these songs were offered from the 12th, 11th, 12th century on, and these form the core of the repertoire. When a dancer gives a full performance, we begin with an invocation, which will always begin with obeisance to the earth, with a sloka, a Sanskrit prayer, to some aspect of the divine. And depending on the interest of the students and the time, after going through the basics, after learning this simple dance of invocation, either they can go on and learn a pallavi, which is a pure dance, meaning dance without text, which will be on a particular theme, so that they'll take particular movements and then they'll combine them and have a whole dance based on one theme. Or they might like to do a dance that combines expression along with the movement, and in that case we might take a dance about the beautiful springtime and the flowers, which are just like the beauty of a young woman. As she enjoys the spring, her heart yearns to be with her beloved who is far away. So there's also, of course, the possibility, time permitting and interest, that I could give it an introduction to two other forms of Indian dance. So Odissi, which is a dance from Eastern India, the border between north and south, and very lyrical. If we go farther northeast, we come to Manipur. And in Manipur, the dance is all circles and curves and figure eights, with the hands, with the head, with the whole body, and it has no stamping, no hard edges. We don't break it up into Alapadma, Pataka, Amsasya. It's Charlie movement, din ding, taki, ding. Very lyrical, closer to Southeast Asia, which is, even though the dance is very much Indian and reflects Indian traditions, it is much closer. It's on the border of Burma. It's closer to Thailand than Delhi. And then another genre we could touch on, which is not formally recognized as classical, but is traditional, is the martial arts-based Chow, which comes from Jharkhand, Bengal, and Odisha. And here you have a martial arts form which uses the body in a very different way than the other classical traditions, because it's all about torso movement and from that torso movement comes leg extensions, which are really not part of the other dance traditions. I hope this brief introduction to Odissi dance has given you an idea of what the experience would be for your university dance students. It's always been a pleasure sharing this art with novices, dancers, those uninitiated as well as trained dancers, and it's such a beautiful and wonderful tradition that it'll be a pleasure to share this with them.